In late December 1980, in the cold flat countryside of Suffolk, England, a strange incident unfolded beside two of NATO's most sensitive military sites, RAF Woodbridge and RAF Bentwaters bases used by the United States Air Force during the Cold War. It was the kind of place where secrecy was routine, where security police patrolled the fence lines at night, and where any unidentified light beyond the perimeter could trigger alarms. Then, just after Christmas, something did. On the night of December 26, 1980, security personnel reported unusual lights in Rendlesham Forest, the wooded area separating the bases from nearby villages. At first, many assumed it was a downed aircraft. The Cold War mindset shaped every reaction. A crash could mean a Soviet intrusion, a weapons accident, or a threat to base security. A small team of US airmen drove toward the disturbance, entering the forest under the beam of flashlights and vehicle headlights, expecting to find wreckage. What they claimed to encounter instead became the foundation of a legend. Several servicemen later stated that they saw a bright object moving between the trees and that it appeared to descend into the forest. Some described it as metallic, triangular, or smoothly shaped, with colored lights pulsing or scanning the area. The story would grow in the years that followed, as witness recollections expanded and were retold across documentaries, books, and conferences. One of the most famous accounts came from a security policeman who later said he approached a landed craft close enough to touch it, describing markings on its surface and unusual lights. Another witness described the object lifting silently, weaving through the trees, then accelerating away at an impossible speed. Whether these details were exact memories or later reconstructions is part of what makes Rendlesham so controversial. The more it was discussed, the harder it became to separate the first report from the mythology that followed. What is not disputed is that the incident did not end with a single sighting. Over multiple nights, more reports followed, lights hovering, beams in the sky, sudden movements and confusion among men trained to identify aircraft. The forest itself played a role. Darkness, wind, and distance can transform ordinary lights into something uncanny. But the witnesses were not civilians chasing a thrill. They were military personnel operating in a restricted zone during a period when both nuclear readiness and intelligence paranoia were real. The early hours after the first encounter were chaotic. Some servicemen returned to base shaken. Others remained skeptical, convinced the lights were misidentified, perhaps a lighthouse, a meteor, or distant aircraft. Yet the rumor spread quickly through the barracks. When multiple people claim to see something extraordinary in the same place at the same time, the psychological pressure intensifies. Belief becomes contagious. Doubt becomes personal. By morning, the forest looked ordinary again. Mud, pine needles, and winter fog. But the questions remained. If it was nothing, why were so many trained observers disturbed? If it was something, why didn't the bases lock down and alert higher command publicly? And if the US military had an answer, why would it let uncertainty linger inside its own ranks? Those questions are exactly why Rendlesham survived. Not because it offered a clear alien narrative, but because it sat at the intersection of fear, secrecy, and authority, where even small mysteries can become permanent. If you want the most famous part of the story, recorded audio, radiation claims, and the official memo that turned Rendlesham into a global case, stay tuned and follow the channel for the next segment. The strange events in Rendlesham Forest might have faded into barracks folklore, if not for the direct involvement of the base's skeptical second-in-command, Lieutenant Colonel Charles I Sir Holt. On the night of December 27-28, 1980, 2 nights after the initial sighting, the mysterious lights returned. Annoyed by the continuing hysteria, Holt decided to lead a small team into the forest to debunk the stories once and for all. He brought a micro-cassette recorder to document the investigation, inadvertently creating one of the most famous pieces of evidence in UFO history. Holt's audio recording captures the transformation of a skeptic into a baffled witness. His calm, professional tone slowly gives way to genuine bewilderment. On the tape, Holt can be heard directing his men toward a strange, glowing object. "We are seeing strange lights in the sky," he reports, his voice crackling with static. The team soon located the landing site from the previous night, finding 3 distinct impressions in the ground in a triangular formation, along with bent and broken tree branches. Using a Geiger counter, Holt recorded radiation readings that were significantly higher inside the triangle and on the surrounding trees, peaking at 7 times the normal background level. As they investigated, the night took an even stranger turn. Holt and his men witnessed a bright, pulsating red light moving through the trees. On the tape, Holt describes it as being like an eye winking at you. The object appeared to hover silently before moving off at high speed. Later, they observed multiple objects in the night sky performing sharp angular movements, and at one point, appearing to project beams of light down onto the ground, with one beam landing near the highly sensitive weapons storage area at RAF Bentwaters. Holt is recorded exclaiming, "Here he comes from the south. He's coming in toward us now. Now we're observing what appears to be a beam coming down to the ground." The incident culminated in an official memorandum written by Holt on January 13, 1981. Titled Unexplained Lights, the 2-page document was a calm, factual summary of the events witnessed by him and his men, including the physical traces, the radiation readings, and the maneuvers of the aerial objects. He sent this memo to the British Ministry of Defence. This document, the Holt Memo, is the bedrock of the Rendlesham case. It wasn't a sensationalist claim from a civilian. It was an official report from a high-ranking USAF officer detailing a potential security breach at a nuclear-capable airbase by an unknown object. When the memo was released to the public in 1983 under the US Freedom of Information Act, the story exploded, cementing Rendlesham Forest as Britain's Roswell. If you want to explore the skeptical explanations and the enduring legacy of this perplexing case, stay tuned and follow the channel for the final segment. With an official military memo and an audio recording confirming that something happened in Rendlesham Forest, the incident became a battleground between believers and skeptics. The central question shifted from if there was an event to what that event was. Skeptics have proposed several logical, down-to-earth explanations that, when woven together, offer a compelling counter-narrative to the alien hypothesis. The most prominent explanation is the Orford Ness Lighthouse. Located several miles away on the coast, the lighthouse's powerful beam was visible from the forest. As it swept across the landscape, its light, refracted by trees and atmospheric conditions, could easily have been perceived as a hovering, flashing and moving object, especially by observers unfamiliar with the area. Many of the airmen were new to the base, and the timing of the flashes matches the lighthouse's known rotation. Another key piece of the skeptical puzzle is a brilliant fireball, a bolide meteor, that was observed across southern England on the same night as Holt's investigation. This could account for the spectacular object seen streaking across the sky and appearing to crash into the forest. Furthermore, the physical evidence is also contested. The landing marks could have been made by animals or were simply depressions in the natural terrain, and the radiation readings, while elevated, were not considered dangerously high and could have come from other military equipment. Over the years, the witness testimonies themselves have become a point of contention. Some of the most dramatic details, such as Airman Jim Penniston's claim of touching the craft and telepathically receiving a binary code message, only emerged decades after the incident and were not included in his original statements. This evolution of memory is common in such cases, where retellings can inadvertently embellish or reinterpret events. Some researchers even suggest the entire incident might have been an elaborate prank or a psychological warfare exercise gone awry. The official response from the British Ministry of Defence only deepened the mystery. After a brief investigation, the MOD concluded that the events posed no defence significance and closed the file. For conspiracy theorists, this dismissal was proof of a cover-up. For the government, it was a practical decision. With no evidence of hostile intent or a violation of UK airspace by a foreign power, there was nothing further to investigate. Today, Rendlesham Forest has embraced its legacy. A dedicated UFO trail guides tourists to the supposed landing site, where a sculpture of the triangular craft now stands. The incident has become a cornerstone of British folklore, a perfect storm of credible military witnesses, official documentation, tantalizing physical traces, and the evocative, paranoid atmosphere of the Cold War. Unlike Roswell, where the official explanation is a secret spy balloon, Rendlesham remains officially unexplained by the MOD, leaving a vacuum that believers and skeptics continue to fill with their own truths. The Rendlesham Forest incident is a masterclass in ambiguity. It reminds us that even with official reports and eyewitnesses, the truth can remain just out of reach. If this exploration of one of the world's most compelling UFO cases has sparked your curiosity, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Share this video to keep the debate alive. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next documentary.